Hello and welcome, Exiles, to look at my Flamethrower trap of stability, Trickster. The new Flamethrower trap features cool things like half the base damage of normal Flamethrower trap, half the duration, and a 90% reduction in its cooldown time, which is the main reason you can build around it. Instead of having like an 8-second base cooldown, it has a 1-second cooldown, and that's what we're trying to lean into. Now, this trap, looking at it in game, has also the interesting feature of it doesn't spin. So Flamethrower trap normally would spin, but you see when this goes off, it's just stationary, which means if you throw that on an enemy, it's just gonna tick, 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 and just hit them consistently, which is kind of nice. For the most part, when you're fighting enemies, bosses, they have long stationary periods. This is great for dealing damage. And I think ultimately, it's only slightly worse for map clear in the case where you throw one trap and it doesn't quite hit every enemy. Like the rotation of the other flamethrower trap would go around and it would hit every enemy. But ultimately, for the most part, it feels like you hit pretty much everything in the radius, even with them like standing in between one of the like flamethrower whatevers. It's like it still kind of has a radius or width to the beams that hits, and it feels like if they're in the radius, it pretty much consistently hits. Now, as for building into this, we went the route of trying to scale a bunch of CDR so that way we could make it not just a trap that we occasionally get to throw, but we can spam throw. And we did that through a few sources. Number one is advanced traps. This support gem we have on our gloves gives 110 CDR to traps. We also have 20 CDR from these small nodes. We obviously have the +1 cooldown, and then we're stealing like clockwork from Saboteur, which gives another 50 CDR. So we have a boatload of CDR, which ends up making our trap CDR, which normally would be 1 second, like 0.3 seconds. So we can throw this trap 3 times a second, or if we can throw a little bit faster, we also have 20% chance to not consume cooldown. So with our trap throw speed, with the Trickster 5 frenzies, with a pretty good amount of throw speed, we can it doesn't really feel like we're getting limited by CDR, which is kind of cool for a cooldown based trap that you can get it to the point where you can just spam throw it. But that's pretty much how it feels at this point. Speaking of the fact we're stealing Saboteur's like clockwork node, originally I was planning to play this as a Saboteur and steal Escape Artist from Trickster. The thing is, Escape Artist is like 100D because of video Jung made, so I ended up just deciding to be a Trickster and steal like clockwork, but you could play as one or the other if you wanted to play Saboteur instead. But Escape Artist does cost a very pretty penny, so that's why I didn't do that. Next up, let's talk a bit about the elephant in the room. You probably noticed, hey, Lance, that's a lot of specters. Is this a minion build? What the hell is going on? And I'm going to try to explain what I was building around. So there is a shield called Bitter Point Bind. And if you look at all the way at the bottom row, you'll notice it says increased spell crit chance per raise specter. And this normally rolls up to 100%. I spent extra buying a fancy like overroll volatile orb version because it was only a little bit more than the baseline cost at the time. And quite frankly, this is overkill. You do not need this. With 13 specters, if you have 90 to 100% spell crit chance, you are going to be crit capped regardless. The 115 is complete overkill, and I'll try to explain why. If you have a 5 base crit skill, you throw an Assassin's Mark, you go to 6.5 base crit, and then you multiply by 13 or 14, you're already at crit cap. You don't need to be multiplying by 16 or 17 with the extra overroll. You're going to get there anyways. So just keep that in mind, especially when you consider, we have power charges from charge traps and whatnot. This is unnecessary. Do not pay extra for a shield with an extra crit chance roll. Now, so what we're doing is we're getting a bunch of crit chance from this. That's one of the benefits. Benefit number 2 is we are building into the Umbral Army Ascendancy. This Katarina Ascendancy gives 10% defense per raise specter. So every single one of these, 13 of them, is giving us 130% increased defense, which is increased evasion and increased energy shield. Technically, it gives us a little bit of armor as well, which we end up having a little bit of armor in this character, but it's not too relevant. So this is a great pairing with a Trickster because you go Escape Artist, you have a nice amount of flat evasion and a nice amount of flat ES. And even though my tree doesn't have a particularly large amount of ES investment, I'm not an in-stacker. I'm playing Elegant Hubris. I've tattooed my tree to ES, but I don't really have that many ES wheels. I have like 1, 2. I have 2 ES wheels on my entire tree. Most of my tree is invested into offensive nodes or some like block nodes and stuff. So it allows you to get a bunch of ES even though you're not particularly well invested into it. So that's what we're getting here. We're getting a bunch of crit chance and a bunch of defense. The other tertiary benefit you get from the specters is you'll notice my buff bar has a boatload of random auras and random benefits. For example, 30 crit multi is from a perfect pain artist. Onslaught, perfect forest warrior. That dude also does cull. There's a number of benefits you get from these, and I'm going to try to pull up the page, just kind of showcase what's going on here. If you look at the corpse item page on PoE you'll notice all these perfect corpses, they often give you an aura and one other additional benefit. So, for example, Perfect Forest Tiger would have given us haste and it would have given us frenzies on hit. We already get frenzies from charge trap, so this wouldn't be beneficial. But if you wanted a little bit of extra speed, haste is nice. This corpse is like 10D, and I thought that was too much currency, so I didn't buy it. But that's one of the things. Perfect Guardian Turtle gives 5% PDR and D turn. We have that. Perfect Thunderboard. This thing is annoying as hell. Do not use this. It makes really annoying sounds. And I chose not to use it because it makes annoying sounds, but it technically could give you like lightning exposure plus grace. But you get the idea. You go through the list of specters. There's a bunch that can give your character some benefits, some auras that apply to your build. This character gets quite a few auras. Now let's talk about the auras for a second. These auras, you might think, okay, they're high level specters. They're probably high level auras. No, they are not. This is one of the downsides or one of the bummers I found out when I was setting this character up is I thought to myself, yo, I'm going to get triple purities just from these Spectre dudes, and I'm going to be able to scale some max res. Well, if you look at my stat sheet, you'll notice these purity auras we're getting from our level like 27, 28 Spectres, they're like level 1 purities. They're giving 1 max res. I think a lot of these auras are around the level 1 to level 10 range. They are not very strong auras. They are definitely quite beneficial. Like, you know, getting 10% more damage from Zealotry, getting 20% crit chance from Zealotry, cool. Getting, you know, some flat fire from Anger, cool. Getting 14% skill effect duration on a duration skill that gets damage from it, cool. Like, there's a lot of, like, extra benefits, and they do add up, but they are not full-fledged auras. They are not the power level of a level 20 aura or a 25 aura. They're not like the Holy Relic or the Relic thing from Guardian where they're level 27 auras. They are like level 1 to level 10 auras as far as I can tell from these perfect specters. Obviously, from specter to specter, it probably varies, but most of them seem like they're on the weaker end of auras. All right, so anyways, where was I going with this? You get a bunch of basically random little benefits, pretty nice slew of benefits that add up, basically like the crit multi, the onslaught, the cull, all the auras, and you can just kind of pick and choose what you want. For specters, we have a lot of these corpse items that are giving us these auras, and then we have a couple random ones. I was told to get Spectral Leader, which this guy gives this like action speed benefit, which I think is like 20% action speed, which seems fairly consistent. And then we have a Arena Master, which you get from a Drox map, and apparently he does something. I don't even know what he does. I was just told to get him from chat. I don't know much about specters and their various benefits, but corpse item page, you can look at the benefits to see what they give, and then maybe if you check around some of the minion community guys, they'll tell you, hey, this specter's really good as like an aura bot support specter. I don't really know too much about them, but that's just some of the ones I was recommended, and I just went down the list on the corpse item page, and you could pick out pretty much 13 of them, or if you get a level 4 congregation, you could get 14 of them. Real quick to go over how do we get to that number. You get +1 Spectre from the shield. Your Ray Spectre gem can give you 3 at base, so that takes us to 4 total. And then we anoint this node here to take us to 5. Golem, or not Golem hat, sorry, Spectre double hat takes us to 10, and then Congregation gives you 30% more, which takes us to 13. A level 4 Congregation would take you to 14. If you really wanted to invest into it, you could go for a +1 Spectre chest, I guess, but I think just a random chest that has good triple defense prefixes will do just fine. So yeah, that's what's going on there. We get a bunch of defense, we get our crit capped, and we get a lot of random little benefits. That's the thing I was trying to build around and seeing how effective it was. Ultimately, my review of this is it's quite strong, but unfortunately, it is very annoying. I have my in-game muted for a reason. The reason is these things make a lot of like random little sounds when you're doing anything, like you swap screens, you'll hear it in the background, or you're trying to craft a piece of gear, it'll constantly be making noise. The other thing is a lot of these guys have dialogues. I don't know if I can make it sound or make any of them say their dialogue. Okay, you saw that lady said burn when she did her firestorm. There's another one who said something. The Glace one, the Purity of Ice guy, he does like feel the chill or the freeze or something. They have all this extra sound they make, and that's kind of like, in my opinion, that's a downside. I don't want to play with my sounds off, but this sort of setup definitely made me want to play with my sounds off because they have these extra annoying sounds that occur. So yeah, that's why there's going specters on. It gives us crit chance, it gives us defense for ES and evasion, and it gives us a whole host, a laundry list of random benefits: action speed, onslaught, coal, crit multi, you name it. There's a freaking crap ton of things you can do, or benefits you can get from these guys. But they come with the downside of annoying sounds. After that, we also tried to build around Enmity's Embrace, because the new Volatile Val Orb can roll this reduced fire res roll from 65 minimum all the way down to about, I believe, like 51% at the maximum. I did only a couple. I got 60%. I said, yo, that's good enough. I'm going to chill. But if you want to min-max, Enmity's Embrace it's at an all-time high in terms of power level, because you can low roll it down to 50%, which means it's a lot more efficient at getting you the fire pen. My character, I only got up to 166 overcap, which is like 90 fire pen for us. But later on, if we got a few more levels, you could add like a fire res cluster here. You could go for a better multiplier on the ring, and you could start getting closer to that 200 pen number. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there with the character. As for the item gearing setup, I went for a defense cord belt, which you can do with the Hinekora Beast Lock method, looking at the body armor plus ES, Awaken Orb until you roll a good flat ES number. And then you could try to do a suffix reforge of fire and try to benchcraft, block, slam, try to hit an okay suffix, that sort of thing. That's how I crafted my cord belt. As for the gloves, this was a recombination craft. I essenced for Hysteria, I believe, which gives the flat fire mod. You can do this until you hit advanced traps, and then you can do suffix game change, reforge, crit to put on crit multi. There's only one crit mod, and it is the socketed spell crit multi. Or you can do a recon method where you isolate the flat fire, buy a base that has advanced traps on it with like 2 non-natives like flat strength and suppress, flat strength and life regenerate, that sort of thing, and recom it. If it chooses the warlock base, the flat strength suppress can't roll, and it'll move the advanced traps over, that sort of idea. But after that, you just do a little bit of meta crafting with Bristle Matrons trying to slam on some ES mods, and that's what we did here. So that's how I did the gloves. As for the other pieces, I bought a fractured Chill Avoid movement speed boots. These are pretty cheap. Oh, I just realized this pair of boots doesn't have movement speed. Oh my word. That is so funny. I thought I bought a pair of boots with the movement speed Chill Avoid because it had 30%, 100%. And I apparently bought Avoid Chill, which was completely the wrong thing. Because I am freeze immune from Brine King. I was just going to get chill immune for my boots. I've been playing with no 30% movement speed. That is really, I swear, the movement speed chill avoid mod, it will look like 30%, 100%. I didn't even realize I bought the wrong mod. No wonder it was only 1D. I thought I got a steal on this. But anyways, you could buy Fractured Betrayal mods, and then you could do like Woe Essence and then Suffix Craft afterwards. It's also completely fine to buy a Fractured ES mod, do your suffixes first, then do suffixes can't be changed, Veiled Orb, Unveil movement speed, Benchcraft the other ES mod you need. You get the idea. That is really funny. I did not realize this whole time I've been playing without 30 movement speed. Anyways, besides that, we are a Elegant Hubris build with the basically combination of using a Impossible Escape to get some good notables, spell damage, fire res, those sorts of things you can look for. I like using the Timeless Jewel Calculator. That's up to you if you want to use that or not, but Endurance Charge, this is a good spot for it. There's a good spot here as well, but here I'm doing Spell Block. Speaking of our character, we have 70 Spell Block, and the way we're getting that is through this Foulborn Blue Nightmare, plus a bunch of Lightning Res on these travel nodes, and then we have Tempest Shield, and then we have 2 clusters which have Mage Hunter and Conjured Wall in the travel. This just means whenever we Frost Blink, we've procced this cast spell recently, and we're constantly at 70 spell block. The idea here is to combine spell block with good evasion. So that way we have avoidance for both spells and attacks, which pairs pretty nicely. We also are running suppression. I have lucky suppress right now because I haven't suppress capped. Suppression with the Spellbreaker node for Wicked Ward recharge can feel pretty good, and that's what I'm doing there. And then on top of all that, we're having Zealot's Oath and a bit of regen throughout our character. Through regen from endurance charges, regen mastery. Yeah, I have regen mastery. And then we're also using rational doctrine. One of the great things about Elegant Hubris is it's really easy to make a certain attribute your highest, in this case, strength. Because you can tattoo all of your other stuff to like res or suppress or whatever else you want. And then that means you can get the permanent conk ground, which gives us regen and curse reduction. Another nice thing about the conk ground, and one other thing about keeping these specters alive, you're probably wondering, Lance, how the hell are these things having any survivability? Well, number one is the shield comes with a big Spectre HP mod on it. It goes up to 100% Spectre HP. But number two is we have them always getting convocated. Our character has a really fast CDR, so you'll notice 1.4 CDR. One way specters tend to die is they stand in dangerous attacks. For example, you're doing Uber Shaper and they just sit there while they're getting Uber Shaper beamed. With a 1.4 second cooldown on the convocation, you can see it's just proccing all the time. If you're dodging the attacks, then they're dodging the attacks. So that helps keep them alive. And then the other thing that's really nice is because we're using Rational Doctrine, our conk ground we create from this thing, it lingers for 4 seconds and it applies to everybody who stands on it that's an ally. So whenever I go anywhere and they get convocated onto my character, they're getting regen from convocation and they're getting the conk ground 5% regen. So they actually have permanent like 7% regen, which helps their survivability quite a lot, even though we aren't invested into any minion defense nodes on the tree anywhere. These guys actually have fairly good survivability because they're getting convocated out of dangerous mechanics and they're getting constant regen applied to them. They have a nice HP multiplier from the shield, or each HP increase from the shield. And then we have them on a 6-link here in terms of defensive supports attached to them. All that adds up to making them pretty tanky, even though we're not investing anything on our tree into making them more tanky itself. Okay, I think I've covered most of the mechanics of the character. Ultimately, you can look at the POB and kind of decide what you think of it yourself. I had fun playing this build. I was gonna say I had fun playing this build with the one caveat of it is a trap character. It plays like a trap character. This is not very good clear. It's fairly decent single target, but it is a trap character. At the end of the day, whenever you're going to kill enemies, you are going to throw the trap down, then it has to arm, then it will activate, then it does damage. So there's always going to be that like delay and clear. It's a bit, you end up in a situation where it's like you'll go over, sometimes you'll kill enemies with your Frostlink alone, but you'll end up in situations where you'll throw your trap down and then you'll just keep moving knowing the trap's going to kill it behind you, but you don't sit around and wait for it to go off. It's kind of like the efficient way to play the character, if that makes sense. There's a lot of like enemies dying behind you, and that's just a symptom of the fact that traps are trap skills. They have that arm time, they have to proc, you have to throw them, there's some built-in delays. It's not instant gratification of doing damage. So I'd only recommend playing this if you want to try out trap builds or you already like trap builds. If you know you don't like trap builds, you're not going to like this character because it is a trap build, if that makes sense. Anyways, yeah, that is the Flamethrower trap stability character we made. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care and peace out, and I'll see you in the next one. The next build we're going to work on is going to be Divine Blast, the new shield skill. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, take care, guys. I'll see you later.